Lorne Greene was the image of fatherly wisdom on TV for 14 years in the role of Ben Cartwright on the classic television western Bonanza. Born Lyon Hyman Greene, without the last E in the surname, in Ontario, Canada, on February 12, 1915, he started acting while in Queen's University in Kingston, beginning his professional career on radio. Serving as a flying officer during World War II in the Royal Canadian Air Force, he also worked as a radio broadcaster at the same time and would come to be known as the Voice of Doom, partially because of the sad news he would pronounce and because of his commanding voice. While working on radio, he invented a stopwatch that ran backwards to help announcers keep track of how much airtime they had while speaking. He also narrated several documentaries during that time. When his radio and narration career came to an end, he decided to move into the more visual side of the medium and relocated to the United States. He appeared twice on Broadway in 1953, as well as appeared in the title role of Shakespeare's Othello. Lorne made his Hollywood debut the following year in the Paul Newman movie, The Silver Chalice. He played the Apostle Peter. By this time, he was becoming a familiar and recognized face in both television and film, and his movies include Peyton Place, The Buccaneer with Yul Brynner, and Tight Spot with Ginger Rogers, Brian Keith, and Edward G. Robinson. He was also in shows like Wagon Train, Bronco, and Cyan, along with numerous anthology series. It was one of these anthologies that led to his being cast as Ben Cartwright. It was his appearance as Big Brother in Studio One in Hollywood's production of George Orwell's 1984 that brought him up for consideration for the role of the Cartwright patriarch 5 years later. With gray hair, a commanding voice, and a kind demeanor, he became the image of television fatherhood. As Ben Cartwright, he was always ready with an open ear, a word of wisdom, or an act of reprimand for his 3 sons and numerous others throughout the run of the series that came to Paul Cartwright for advice. His portrayal of the patriarch was to have a profound effect on Michael Landon, who played Little Joe, the youngest of Ben's 3 on-screen sons. Michael Landon looked to Lorne Greene himself as a father figure, and I believe you can see Michael Landon's admiration for him in his own portrayal of a patriarch as Charles Paul Ingalls in his other classic series, Little House on the Prairie. One of the first television shows to be filmed and broadcast in color for its entire run, its ratings were fair, but it was almost canceled after the first season because of the high cost of production. However, RCA, NBC's parent corporation, used the show to spur its sales of its own color television sets. By season 2, the ratings were improving and was well on its way to becoming the classic we know today. By 1963, Bonanza was entering its 4th season on the air and ranking in at number 2 in the ratings, and that was the year that Lorne Greene built his own Ponderosa. Calling it the Ponderosa II and built in Mesa, Arizona, he built a somewhat smaller scale home with the one that he lived in on screen. Inside and out, it was built as if the Cartwrights really did live there. The home has since been placed on the National Register of Historic Places by the United States Department of the Interior. 1973 saw the cancellation of Bonanza after the death of Dan Blocker the year before. Lorne Greene continued to have a healthy career for the next 14 years, appearing in such shows as Earthquake, Battlestar Galactica, The Alamo, 13 Days of Glory, and reuniting with his 2 remaining on-screen sons from Bonanza, Pernell Roberts in 1980 on a 2-part episode of Vegas, and Michael Landon in 1985 in an episode of Highway to Heaven. Lorne Greene died on September 11, 1987 from pneumonia following heart surgery. He had just signed on to reprise his most well-known role in the television revival movie of Bonanza. Leading the Cartwright clan over the original 14-year run, he has continued to lead them even after his death in almost 50 years of reruns.